8 Atlantic Standard Time. I'm Christ and Disciple. You're watching my channel. If you like what you see, you can like, share, subscribe. You can donate also if you want to, or you can purchase from our sponsor in Trinidad and Tobago, which is LIVE Products. LIVE, live now, we're alive now. All praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. So as you can see, Koja asked me to do. He was asking me when I was going to do my next stream. I said last night, but I fell asleep last night. I didn't get to do the stream, so I'm going to do it right now. First of all, in front of you, what you're seeing is art from a number of fans of the Snyderverse. As you can see, this is Hassan Kazi. It says I, Hassan Kazi, IHK. Excellent artist. And this here is Borg Life. This is Cyborg. He mixed actual footage of Ray Fisher. And then he also mixed in the Hot Toys version of Cyborg into what is known as Zack Snyder's Justice League. Cyborg and Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is really awesome. It's also in BVS, but the background story and everything was given in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Here's some other fan art here from another fan. This is, of course, the Nightmare timeline. You can see the Flash there with all the detail. The fan put that in. Then, of course, they sort of CG'd in Henry Cavill Superman from BVS. The glowing eyes and all the debris in the background of a apocalyptic world. Here, another fan is showing here, seems as though Batfleck has gotten some Green Lantern, or that could be Kryptonite hands. I think it's Kryptonite hands. And apparently they time traveled. We see the Flash there in the background, Deathstroke, Cyborg, and Mira way down in the background there, coming through a portal. It says Fallen Kryptonian. Restore the Snyderverse. We see Darkseid and Superman. It's not as clear. It's kind of like I think this fan took some art from another fan and did their own version on it. Borglight Forever. This is Cyborg. A fan did. Again, it seems as though they merged. They merged Cyborg from Zack Snyder's Justice League. You restore the Snyderverse, the Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman, and Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. Man of Tomorrow, something that all of us wanted to see, a Henry Cavill Superman solo movie. This is the suit from Zack Snyder's Justice League without it having been manipulated for color correction to convert it into a black suit. And as you can see, it's a lot more shiny than the BVS suit. And the fan then, manipulated the picture to get what he desired. Here's the end. So these are the movies that we as fans want and the general audience want. And for some reason, Warner Brothers has been ignoring us for the greater portion of time and been giving us stuff that we don't want. We never asked for all Superman that you could ever do, a James Gunn version of Superman. I mean, we've got different people who could have done Superman. That's not Zack Snyder. That probably might have given it some justice. I think what comes to my mind when it comes to Superman and a director who might take that character at least seriously, I think of George Miller. who was supposed to do a Superman movie. And I think George Miller would have taken the Superman movie much more seriously. And, you know, but of course, George Miller's Mad Max story, he put out his most recent Mad Max story, did not do well at the box office. So it flopped. So that probably sort of eliminated him. But, you know, I'm just saying that this is what we want as fans. The other stuff, you know, this, I mean, there aren't much James Gunn fans raving to see his Superman movie. To be honest with you, the Gunn fans are even divided on that. Here's another fun fan made art. In this art, we see Superman there. We see Batman, Darkseid, with his Omega symbol bowing to Batman. I mean, I don't know about that. Back then, you have Martian Manhunter, what looks like Supergirl, Green Lanterns, Hal Jordan, and John Stewart. Cyborg's in the background. We have Black Adam, The Flash. Looks like Deadshot. Looks like both the guy from the Suicide Squad. I forgot what his name is there. Bullseye or something. It's not Bullseye. Anyway, looking at the other people in the background, can't tell who they are. I think that's Deathstroke and Joker. And I don't know who the person is in the far corner. Talking about these guys in the background. Oh, Harley Quinn. Okay. So this person tried to incorporate a lot of DCEU characters into that stuff. Here's another Henry Cavill featured picture. There's Darkseid, Granny Goodness, and Desaad. You see Superman in the background. Apparently Darkseid has come to Earth. Here we have what looks like a BVS picture. Manipulation of Gal, and this is a Batman from Zack Snyder's Justice League. We got a Wonder Woman, what looks like Wonder Woman, and then we have Henry Cavill's Superman in the background there. There's Calvarine, and this is again Hassan. IHK. This is Hassan again, black and white. Restore the Snyderverse, the Batman movie. This is a fan's drawing of Henry Cavill's Superman. This is not Henry Cavill's Superman per se, but still a fan's drawing. You can see the S is different. Maybe James Gunn should have gone with something like that. I don't know. This is BVS fans artwork of BVS, really fantastic. And I'm just saying that there's so much art out there in tribute to the Snyderverse, particularly Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, and Zack Snyder's Justice League out there. That it makes you wonder, what is the studio thinking? I don't know what it's thinking, because I don't get it. It's I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. Vinny Tartamella, he's the one that actually did this beautiful piece of fan art. Here is some more fan art. Yeah, this is fan art, believe it or not. Excellent, excellent, excellent drawings. This is the Justice League version, when everyone thought Zack Snyder was doing this. A fan did this. And the fan's name, of course, is in the corner right here. Saif. Well, that's done in 2017, just before Zack Snyder's Justice League. This is Fabak Anderson, and he did this. And this is comic book level, beautiful fan art. Um, this, I believe this is BVS, off of BVS, so this must be done somewhere in 2015, maybe 2016. It is fantastic. Look at that. And I mean, we have some really remarkable people who have been contributing to the, restore the Snyderverse movement, as well as, Snyderverse related stuff. I do think I posted up this guy on Twitter. This is Henry Cavill's Superman, obviously, the cape flowing on all kinds of ways. Again, Henry Cavill's Superman. Beautiful artwork. And this is not AI. There's no AI going on here, Look at this again. And you can see the artist's his name, his signature. And this was done in 2015. This again is some more artwork. This is digital artwork, I'm assuming, where Henry's breaking the chains here. Beautiful artwork again by a fan. Lovely lighting and coloring and everything, It's fantastic. This was a sort of animation of Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 that they tried to do. And this is, of course, Batfleck dying from the Omega Beams instead of Lois Lane. This is the Flash talking to Batfleck before he goes on the treadmill and tries to blast his way through time. You can see Darkseid in the background and Desaad. Again, this is from the animated, sort of comic presentation of what a fan thought that Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 would look like. This here is a fan's drawing of Batfleck on a gargoyle as the lightning strikes up in the sky, lights up the sky to show the presence of the shadowy figure Batman from Zack Snyder's Justice League. It looks impeccable. It really looks fantastic. Great stuff. Again, this is from the animated part with the Flash racing back through time, Superman trying to stop him. Here's when Darkseid's about to blast Lois Lane, and Batman is, he's unable to stop that from happening. Here we have Superman killing Batman, I think taking the same Kryptonian spear that Batman's supposed to use to kill Superman, and basically stabbing him with it before removing his head. Okay, so I don't want to talk about this guy. I thought I'd share with you guys some of the beautiful artwork I've seen, with respect to the Snyderverse. And I'm very impressed with so much that is here. To hear Gail Simone talk about how she's just so impressed with working with Zack Snyder. She's been doing the comics for Rebel Moon. I believe she is responsible for one of the comics, Nemesis, that came out this week. And it's highly anticipated because we all love Nemesis, and we're going to get a little prequel story to her. Rebel Moon is moving on, despite what everyone is saying. Netflix loves Rebel Moon, and they are pushing it. And here, Gail Simone says, actually one of the best creative partners I've ever worked with. I mean, remarkable. Gail Simone speaking of Zack Snyder. And then Licor de Gama says, amazing what a paycheck can do. Sure guy who has never worked in a creative field and had many opportunities to choose work they liked. So Gail really likes what Zack put her to do, and she's a fan of Zack when it comes to Rebel Moon. I don't know for DC, but I think that Gail has realized it, and I have not heard no one say that they have had a bad experience working with Zack Snyder. From Ben Affleck to, you name them, they really love working with Zack, and they've had nothing but good things to say about working with Zack. So that's very interesting. You see other directors and people say it's an unpleasant experience with them, not Zack Snyder. So, you wonder what is with all the hate, for Zack Snyder, even with the Rebel Moon stuff, how people try to bash Our Rebel Moon, which did exceptionally well for Netflix. Obviously, Netflix was very happy with it because they're doing sequels, they're doing prequels, they're doing podcasts with Zach. Zach had, has been doing all kinds of things with them, and because Zach is also working with WB. Let's not forget that he's doing something with 300 on TV with them. So Zach's been working with Netflix and WB. So I mean, say what you want about Zack Snyder, this guy's getting work, and he's also going to be working with Turkey Al Sheikh, doing a UFC movie. So Zach has plenty of work in front of him. Um, the people who have been trying to, speak ill of Zach and destroy his career, because they really want to destroy his career so he doesn't come back to DC, so he doesn't do any more DC movies. Um, I just, whatever the mandate is in Hollywood with respect to what's going on in Warner Brothers, I can tell you right now, Zack Snyder is somebody they're going to have to consider, especially if James Gunn's Superman movie just falls short of making the money back that it was put out on it. And I think it's very possible that that $363 million that they pumped out to James Gunn's Superman movie, I don't think they're going to get back. I don't think Warner Bros. Is going to get back that money. They're talking about like, James Gunn's movie is going to make $1 billion score, 800 million. That's really far fetched. I'm telling you, from the feedback I see out there, I know they've manufactured views for James Gunn's movie, but from the feedback I see out there, I just don't see that movie even getting off the finish line. It's the same kind of movie as all the other DC movies that have been there. And the fact that they're doing reshoots on it, I think they did another set of reshoots very recently, tells me that movie's not going to get off the ground. It's dead in the water. At least it should have died on the hill of what James Gunn does. It should have been a James Gunn movie. And this is not even going to be a James Gunn movie. So it's like Andy Muschietti's movie was not an Andy Muschietti's movie. You know what I mean? So I think that the execs are just trying to build up as much hype as they can for it, and the advertising team. And then they're going to, my thoughts are, they're going to either manufacture sales for the movie by literally pumping money into the movie, even though cinemas are empty. Something they did with, I think it was, Marvel did this with the Marvels. And I think that, not the Marvels, I think it was the movie before the Marvels, and I think it made over $1 billion. But I think that that movie was, they pumped money into the movie, and David Zaslav pumping money into Warner Brothers to try to keep the stock as stable as possible, and it's just not working. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is I don't see any demand for James Gunn's Superman movie. And the more people see what kind of movie it's going to be, the less likely they're going to want to see it. I think the first week should tell us everything about that movie, if people love it or they don't love it. And I already know that the demographic that they're dealing with uh, is more than likely not going to love it. They're counting on Marvel fans, they're counting on younger fans to go see that movie. And that's not going to happen. And that's kind of sad because Warner Brothers Discovery has wasted billions of dollars. I think they're now like $1.5 billion deep when it comes to flops. I mean, they flopped out the whole thing. And I think James Gunn's movie is going to be another flop added to their flops. It's not anything different from what they've been doing all along. They've been trying to be Marvelized, and I don't understand why. And that's going to flop, and it's going to be a miserable failure, which is just what it is. Here is another fan's work. And this is their image depiction, understanding of what would happen. And here is Darkseid, of course, frying Lois Lane, and Superman holding the charred body and Batman watching it. I like the graphic design that they chose to use. The Batman there looks like a Batman from Flashpoint Paradox Batman, except he doesn't have a beard and grizzled stuff. But this is crazy right here. And again, the animation, the level of animation is just, I mean, it's impeccable. It's great. So fantastic work by fans. Now I'm watching a John Campea. I don't care to watch him. Okay, so that's what we got there. Now there's some other pieces of information I'd like to share with you guys. Oh, there's some other fan art I should show you. So here is some fan art of the Justice League, and this is penciled. The person who did it, his signature's in the corner there. I don't remember his name. I'm just showing you the art right now. This is again phenomenal, black and white, penciled out, and then they add the color to what they want to add there. You see the flashes, lightning in blue. You see Cyborg's lit up face and parts of his body. You see Superman's eyes. This is fantastic pencil work. Again, these are real art. And again, here is beautiful comic art world featuring Zack Snyder's Justice League. And they have Martian Manhunter there. They have, oh, actually, this is the smaller version of it. I will give you the wider version in a minute. Zack Snyder's DC trilogy redefined the genre and changed so many lives. What did the films mean to you? Zack Snyder's DCU trilogy made a massive impact on DC fans and redefined the comic book movie genre. Some testimonials specifically say the trilogy saved their lives. Yes, I did see that. Whether you love these films or not, there's no denying they're still a hot topic, with their inspiration still seen in other projects today, which is very true. And this is from Batfleck on Instagram. It's just a testimony to it, and you can just go up on Twitter and see all the stuff that is so positive towards this movie. I put, yes, I think I put this art up also. I think I did. I'm not too sure, but yes, these three movies are, I mean, they've been unpacking these movies for now almost a decade, and these movies just have so much in them. And, you know, again, the quality as these movies enduring. When you look at this movie, like if you go and watch, for instance, the Avengers movie, it doesn't look as good, right? But these movies are so timeless that the quality that was put into them, that you can go and watch Man of Steel today, and the CG, the look, the effects look so good. I mean, some things are dated, like, you know, the phones and stuff, but it's still amazing to watch. And when you look at Batman v Superman, oh, it's an iconic movie, and people are unpacking it every single day. You have Zack Snyder's Justice League as well. And the thing about these movies that I like is the relevance they have to our times right now. We live in some really messed up times, and these movies speak to that. The themes of xenophobia, the racism, the themes of white supremacy, and so on. You know, these movies speak to these things, and as we go into the Free Palestine aspect of this, I hope to be able to relay these truths from these movies. And that's why I love the Zack Snyder movies, to be honest with you. Here's another fan paying tribute, Zack Snyder fans paying tribute to the DC Trinity. And I mean, again, remarkable art. Say what you want about Gal Gadot as an actor, particularly Gal Gadot in her stance on Israel and Palestine, which is just horrific. I mean, I don't care to see her on the screen anymore. But having said that, this fan's tribute, look at this. Look at Batman. I mean, Batman looks badass. I mean, he looks the strongest in all three of them. I mean, okay, Wonder Woman and Superman have godlike powers, but Batman is a human. And man, this dude looks badass to the bone. I love what these fans have done. In Absolute Superman, there was a tribute harken back to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, the first poster that was put out there. And that's to tell you how much Zack Snyder really has affected the zeitgeist and just affected fellow creators. You know, he's had a tremendous impact on so many different creators, and Zach doesn't even, I don't think he's even aware of that. And so, you know, it's just amazing. Zach's out in the zeitgeist, and, you know, can't take him back. You know, they can't destroy him. They've been trying to find bad press to say about Zach, but he really doesn't have anything that you can compromise him with. You know, Hollywood has nothing on him. And so, you know, all they could do was kill his daughter. You know what I'm saying? But here we have Zack Snyder fans, and he asks us to say, well, which one of these do you prefer, the director actor coupling of Superman? And we have here Richard Donner in the corner here with Christopher Reeve, and we have Bryan Singer here with Brian Roth. Uh, and they were making the movie. We have James Gunn here with David Cornsweet as they're making the movie there. And then we have Henry Cavill with Zack Snyder. Uh, and I'd say I appreciate, and you can't take this away from Richard Donner. I appreciate that this version of Superman came to be in the beginning. Okay, this is what really brought superhero movies to the screen. It was a very expensive endeavor. It was a groundbreaking endeavor in terms of using special effects, etc., for the character. Um, and at the time, it was an amazing time. I mean, it was magical to see that on the screen. I wonder how they pulled that off. And just the general story, the romance story between Superman and Lois Lane, and so on, was at the time it was a phenomenal thing, and still has an impact to this day on Superman. And we have to be grateful to Richard Donner and even Christopher Reeve for blessing us with a comic book movie that really rocked the world at the time. And so I give all props to the deceased Christopher Reeve and Richard Donner. And what's amazing? Richard Donner didn't even get to finish his sequel. And you would think somebody who has been that revolutionary, that changed the game, you would think that Richard Donner would, the studio would bend backwards to make sure that Richard Donner, you know, produced yet another beautiful work of art. But no, no, the people who were producing the movie fired him. They fired him, and it's just so sad that the same thing happened here with the Zack Snyder. Uh, Zack Snyder once again brought a version of Superman that, okay, critically did not, the critics didn't like it, but I mean, universally, everybody loved it. Some parts of it was controversial to some fans and to some people out there, but by and large, Zach delivered on a Superman that finally made money in cinemas, and the longer we have distance from that movie, is the more we realize how significant that movie was and what it was actually saying. Unlike Richard Donner's Superman, that really wasn't saying much of anything. It was just a feel good movie and a hopeful movie for its time. And I say it wasn't saying much of anything. I mean, its its impact on the zeitgeist was big, but at the time at least. But as of now, when you look at that movie, it's cool and everything, but the significance of Superman to our times and what is happening in the world right now. You take Henry Cavill Superman, you put him in this world right now, and he has significance. He changes the shape of world power right now. You take Christopher Reeve's Superman and you put him in the world right now, and he's going to be traumatized. He's going to be traumatized because he couldn't even handle the fact that Lois Lane was dead. How is he going to handle, you know, the fact that he can't put everything right like he needs to? How's he going to handle that? And so I feel like maybe he would do well, but we don't know his position on things. We know Henry Cavill's position on things because we literally saw him take actions against genocide, for example, against the annihilation of the human race, against and he took this position against his own people. Henry Cavill is a Kryptonian. Let me see if I can make this clear. Let's put it this way, and we will see a parallel to this. When we look at the Israelis, for example, there are Israelis who take the position of the Palestinians and supporting the Palestinians against their own people, against their own nation. We have Jews who are not Israelis or anything, but the Jews, to say Israel's for the Jews, whatever, who are anti-Zionist, and therefore they take a position against Israel, but for humanity and the development of humanity. You have to understand, Henry Cavill's Superman in Man of Steel was of the race of General Zod. If Henry Cavill's Superman was to stay on code, he would support General Zod and the annihilation of the humanity and the human species and bring back a new species. The problem was, though he was of the race of General Zod, he was culturized. He was raised as a human. And to me, this is what makes Man of Steel so relevant. Because it answers the question. Hold on a second, I will come right back. It answers the question. Yeah. Man of Steel answers the question, who we are at our core is based on the values we've been raised on. Superman was raised on values to respect human life. He was raised on values to want to care and help others, not hinder and kill them and destroy them. Now, General Zod, and the interesting thing is, when even though General Zod was a Kryptonian, Superman's father, Jor-El, was also a Kryptonian. But if you look at General Zod's approach to how he dealt with the issues of the corruption in Krypton and the fact that Krypton was going to be destroyed, he dealt with it differently to how Jor-El tried to deal with the situation. Jor-El tried to deal with the situation, the future of Krypton, by creating something, his son, right? Whereas General Zod tried to deal with the situation of Krypton by destroying the structure that was there, by destroying the legislature and the Congress. So General Zod looked at destroying Krypton and rebuilding it, whereas Jor-El was looking at creating something that he knows Krypton's going to be destroyed, that could survive Krypton. And if you look at Superman, he does follow in his father's footsteps in many ways, because he is someone who prefers to inspire, to create hope, to usher people into a better way of living, versus General Zod, which when he came to Earth, he used the same principles, which was destruction, destruction, destruction. Okay, so let me take what I just said to you from this movie and show you how applicable it is today. All right. If you look at, and by the way, this overlaps with the theme of BVS as well, because BVS, Lex Luthor is looking to destroy Superman's image, destroy, kill Superman, destroy, right? Whereas Superman in BVS is looking to save lives. He's looking to help mankind wherever. He's condescending to the level of mankind, going to their congresses to hear this issue that people are raising, that he caused damage and mayhem and so on. He's always looking to work with mankind, to build something, to help in some way, right? Okay, so this is what makes Man of Steel, in my view, a much greater movie than Richard Donner's Superman, which is a much simpler time, much simpler movie. Take home is not much, but it's a very heartwarming, inspiring film, right? Now, the important thing you have to understand is that it's your morals, it's what you're raised on, it's what you stand for, it's what you believe that defines you. It's not your race, it's not even your religion. Okay, it's not because they say they have Jews and then they have Jews, right? If you look at, it's not your race, it's not that you're Palestinian, it's not that you're Israeli, it's not that you're pro-Israel or you're pro-Palestine, right? It's your morals, it's your fabric. And that's what Zach speaks to. And that's what he speaks to when it comes to humanity. And so that's a huge statement in Man of Steel. And that's how I'm sure 100% if Henry Cavill's Superman existed in this world today, the genocide in Palestine would not be happening, because Cavill is pro-human. Cavill is anti-genocide. We know that from Man of Steel. He was raised that way, even though he has, genetically speaking, probably more in common with the Israelis. That's to say, if he was to be a Jew, he'd probably be an Ashkenazi Jew, right? Who, European Jew, because Henry Cavill's European, even though he has more in common with Ashkenazi Jews, let's say, or he's European, he has more in common with Europeans, he would still be pro-Palestine and fighting for the freedom of the Palestinian people and the lifting of their oppression and genocide. He would be anti-genocide because that's how Superman is. Now, why am I saying this? That's relevant. We've seen it in a movie. You look at Christopher Reeve's Superman, you could say, well, Superman stands for values of love. But start with Superman Beyond. Would he be pro-Israeli? Would he be pro-Palestine? Would he be, well, we know he would probably not be pro-genocide. That much we do know. Maybe. I don't know. Why? Because Christopher Reeve's movie never addresses that. We see Superman saving lives, saving cats out of a tree. But if, I'm going to put it in quote unquote marks, America's greatest ally is under threat. Would they couch it in the phrasing like how Gal Gadot is trying to make it, that really and truly all these bloodthirsty terrorist Arabs are coming around Israel? Would they write that sort of story? And would Hollywood allow Superman to be pro-Palestinian? Would Hollywood have allowed Superman to say no to genocide? This is a genocide here. Or would they sugarcoat it and say, no, Superman had to help the U.S. military and had to help the Israelis destroy these evil, demonic Arabs? We don't know. We really don't know. Because Richard Donner's Superman was written in a different time. And it never addressed issues like that. But we know for a fact Man of Steel addressed those issues. And that's what's so crazy about talking about this stuff. What Zack Snyder put, the foundation he put forward. And again, Zack Snyder wasn't thinking of Israelis and Palestine at the time. No, he was just somebody. He wasn't thinking of Sudan and what's going on there. He wasn't thinking of Somalia. He wasn't thinking of Congo. He wasn't thinking about the trade embargoes that are happening in Venezuela, and Maduro is fighting his ass off to save his country from U.S. invasion, folks, in terms of imperial corporate vultures who want to manipulate the resources of Venezuela. And he's standing up to them, just like Fidel Castro stood up to them with Cuba. Listen, I am saying this so you will understand me very clearly. Superman that Zack Snyder dealt with. And Zack Snyder is on record of saying, when I did this movie, this was about how would Superman address certain problems in our current world today. Zack was explicit about that on the Joe Rogan show. So Zack is very much aware of what that movie was saying, Man of Steel. And it set the foundation and framework for BVS, which is the lashback to Man of Steel. And what y'all have to understand is, when you take a position in this world, for righteousness, for the right thing. You have to understand this world is not built on those principles as much as it is written into law. You look at the disregard for the Constitution right now in the United States of America. You look at the disregard for international law by Israel and the United States primarily, who are isolating themselves from the world. And now what does Donald Trump try to do? He is trying to fight against the world. He's going against the world, which is why China is kicking his ass. And the Chinese are saying what they're saying. Because you don't want to be part of the international community. Now you are trying to bully the whole international community into your image and likeness. And you're making yourself more and more despised by the international community and the world. Trying to disrupt BRICS by attacking India. We know what Trump is trying to do. But India is forming alliances with China, their enemy. They're becoming friends because of the United States. And India is realizing, I can't depend on the United States. If they decide to recklessly just, impose sanctions on us, we're dead. So India realizes, I need to form alliances with China like yesterday. And everybody's coming to China. The EU, the tariffs that were placed on electric vehicles have been removed by China. And Europe is considering removing tariffs on Chinese goods. Europe and China are becoming friends, even though they don't like each other. The United States is backing itself into the corner because the American empire has to fall. It has to fall. And its own people it's going to fall from inside because its own people are realizing, oh, if you could do that to Mahmoud Khalil, you could, and by the way, a Supreme Court judge said, again, I'm talking these things, I'm not showing you these things. I really like to show people more than talk, but I don't have much time, so I'm just going to talk it out. A Supreme Court judge said that no matter what status you are in the United States of America, that is, you could be an F1 visa student. You could be on a work visa in the United States of America. You fall under the constitutional right of free speech. That is, the beauty of America was, according to Bassem Youssef, you can say whatever you want, what the fuck you want in the United States of America. You can curse and shit. Because free speech is a constitutional protected right. It has nothing to do with just U.S. citizens have free speech. No, everybody has free speech. Once you go on American soil, even if you are a illegal immigrant, of course they can deport you if you're illegal immigrant. You have free speech, yes, but they can deport you, right? That's different. But even if you're an illegal immigrant, once you enter the United States space, you are protected by free speech. Okay? Now, what Mr. Marco Rubio is doing, Secretary of State, is he's deporting people without good grounds for deporting them. The U.S. government has the right to reject any visa. They have the right. Okay? They do. However, usually, and they don't have to explain why, unless, of course, in a court of law, you have to explain. You have to explain your grounds. They have been deporting people for saying things or supporting movements which they do not approve. It has nothing to do with legality. And what Marco Rubio is trying to stress, and again, this is xenophobic, it's racist, what they're doing, and it's illegal, and I will explain to you how. What he is saying is that the U.S. government has revoked Mahmoud Khalil's visa. The grounds he is giving is that he is undermining the U.S. foreign policy by his rhetoric. This is the thing. Now that undermining of U.S. foreign policy is not illegal. Again, free speech does not. Free speech is not. It's not illegal. So how is he undermining it? Well, they're trying to argue that by having these protests and movements, which are actions, but free speech actions, he's undermining it. Now, here's the thing about it. Has the abduction of Mahmoud Khalil and etc. since that time, has that abduction, because it's an abduction, you can't just take somebody, you can't just take somebody from their home and family without probable cause. You have to have probable cause. Okay? If he has not, and it has to be probable criminal cause, meaning, sorry, I'm saying, I'm mixing up things. What I mean to say is, you can't arrest somebody and not charge them. You have to tell them what they're being arrested for, according to the law. If they have not broken any law, you cannot arrest someone. So what has happened is Mahmoud Khalil was not arrested. The agents that came, the ICE agents from the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, who came in and abducted and are still holding hostage Mahmoud Khalil illegally. No matter what Mr. Marco Rubio, and Mr. Marco Rubio is on hot water, and no matter what the Supreme Court says, I don't give a fuck what the Supreme Court says, that is illegal what they have done. They have detained Mahmoud Khalil without charging him with any crime. That is illegal. You can't do that to anyone in the United States of America. But what Mr. Marco Rubio is saying is Mahmoud Khalil's visa has been revoked. So his status has changed, and therefore we are coming through now and we are removing him from the United States of America. Here's the problem. When the court asks Mr. Marco Rubio on what grounds is his visa revoked, all Mr. Marco Rubio could quote was that, he is affecting foreign policy. He was not very specific about it. He says he supports Hamas. All that bullshit doesn't mean anything. Whether he supports Hamas or not is irrelevant to why are you taking him and why did you abduct him? Because you didn't charge him with any crime. You have to charge him with something. He said, well, we revoked his visa. Why did you revoke his visa? You can't give me some mishmash bullshit and expect me to, this is a court of law. Now, of course, the court's jurisdiction is not on Homeland Security, and they can go on and say this is classified. And even if they say it is classified, you have to now prove still that this man who's in this jurisdiction, by the way, they removed him from his jurisdiction and tried him in another court illegally as well, because the judge barred them from moving him from the jurisdiction, and they still did it. So that's 2 strikes on the administration when it comes to Mahmoud Khalil. And those are 2 civic as well as criminal cases. I want to make it very abundantly clear. I want you guys to understand how much you are on the side of the law. The laws that were made in the United States of America don't give a fuck who you are. You can be the president of the United States. The laws don't care. You have to conform to the laws of the land. You have to conform to the Constitution of the land. So I want you to understand this, because I know for a fact that why Donald Trump and his regime are about to get a blowback so fucking epic that when it happens, that none of that regime, and I don't even know if the federal government will remain standing. Okay? And China sees it, and they know what has to happen. Okay? All right. I'm not saying the Chinese society is the best thing since sliced bread. If I go into China, of course it'll be fine for me. I don't know what the Chinese people are undergoing. But in terms of standard of living, their standard of living is way above what's happening in America right now. I can tell you that for a fact. Okay? So, And we'll talk about that a little bit. But what I am saying to you is, because of this xenophobic, pro-Israel asshole pushing the Zionist propaganda and pushing the Zionist agenda to try and silence, again, decapitate the heads of movements. They think by decapitation, they are going to be able to do what they're doing. You're not doing shit. Free Palestine is in great bloom, and all you do when you martyr somebody is you multiply the effect. And right now, the entire world hates Israel. They hate it. And they're hating every day more and more the United States of America. Now, the head of CARICOM, the Barbados Prime Minister, she is folding under pressure that's not even there by the U.S. government. The U.S. government is now starting, including my country, is trying to charge people and give them problems as they try to enter into Miami, enter into the United States of America from my country, because my country supports Mr. Maduro and is trying to help him in terms of selling his oil to try and alleviate the problems in Venezuela, because we have a lot of refugees that have been coming from Venezuela into my country, and my country has been kind enough to give them a path towards citizenship. We in Trinidad and Tobago, we're not like the United States of America. We try to help people, at least foreigners who really want to work and apply themselves. You're going to find a job in my country. You're going to find money. You're going to get stuff from my country. You're going to use resources that the people in my country don't even use. Now, I'm not saying that the people in my country aren't being treated like shit right now. And a lot of us are wanting to vote out the present government that's there. I don't care what the government tries to do and tries to convince us that it cares. It does not care about us. Okay? But that's not the point. The point is, I'm never going to blame a Venezuelan or Colombian, somebody who's come to this country to better their lives. I'm never going to blame them for what's happening in the country, because I know it's not them. I know it's the corrupt leadership. We call a spade what it is, a spade. Okay? We're not stupid like other people. Oh, it's the immigrants. Yes, it's the immigrants that caused the problem. It's them. They're the terrorists. Are you stupid? Are you really stupid? The poorest people in a country are the problem? Like, really? Like, really? You're not going to fool me. You're not going to fool me. You're not going to fool me about Palestine. One of the poorest fucking nations in the world, but they're a problem? We bought into this bullshit for too long, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about the F-bombs. I'm Christian. I really shouldn't be cursing. So I'm going to try and dial it back. But what I'm saying to you guys is, how could the poorest nations in the world be a problem? Yemen, Iraq they destroyed Iraq's economy. Recently, we heard a senator speak on what happened in Libya. What happened to Colonel Gaddafi? How evil it was that the U.S. regime and Europe targeted that man and decided to kill him because he wanted a united Africa under one currency, just like the EU. And it was going to be backed by gold. And U.S. hegemony and Europe said, no, racist motherfuckers. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say that, but it's so evil what these people did. It's evil. I look at documentaries on Palestine. The Palestinians, oh my God, I'm about to say something that's Zack Snyder, one of Zack Snyder's themes, the Palestinians are farmers, ladies and gentlemen. They are farmers. Just recently, J.D. Vance, the hate for farmers is a really funny thing, but, in Zack Snyder's movies, there's a lot of hate sent to farmers. I remember General Zod saying to Kal-El, he said, Kal-El, I trained my whole life to master my senses. Where do you train? On a farm? Funny, but not so funny. Right now, the farmers in America, the beekeepers, the livestock farmers, they're under a great oppression. A lot of arable lands now cannot be worked. A lot of livestock has died because of forever chemicals. Nobody's talking about it in the news, by the way. How the urban people, the country folk, the farmers are being mistreated in the United States of America. The soldiers who went to fight wars, the veterans are mistreated in the United States of America. They're homeless. They're drug addicts. It is wrong what's happening. As the Chinese said, you tricked people with Hollywood and you drugged them. You drugged the population. Do you know that the whole drug trade and human trafficking trade is facilitated by Mossad and the CIA? Do you know this? Do you know this? So-called Jews behind these corrupt practices, pedophilia, smuggling in children from Latin America to be sex slaves, to be slaves in America from very wealthy and rich people, the harvesting of organs. Israel has one of the largest skin banks in all of the world. They come off of the Palestinian bodies. They harvest them. These are evil atrocities. Y'all talk about Mr. Epstein. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, y'all talk about P. Diddy. That's the tip of the iceberg of these wicked people. All of those, get-togethers, homosexuals with homosexuals at the highest level. Human sacrifice of the purest of humans that they could find, either virgins or children. You think these people care about children dying in Palestine? They don't care. You think they care about children being trafficked from Latin America? They don't care. They break in these children very young. I know, in my country, the same thing happens. The elite people who harness the power, energy harvest, the power, they prey on the innocent and the weak. We have women and children that disappear off the streets. Why do you think they want homelessness? Because you can't track the homeless. And they charm the homeless with, oh, come here, man. You can get sex. You can get, food. I'll give you shelter. And they take them in, clean them up, and murder them. Nobody's going to miss them. I want you to understand, a lot of Latin American children have been abducted for this very reason. Then some of the Latin American children, to get ahead, they've been groomed in their own countries. They go to school to be hoes, to be sluts. They're married into families for that purpose. They're bought like slaves and cattle. And they're used. It happens in my country, far less for the United States of America, far less for Europe. People don't know these things. It's time we talk about it. But you can't go into these topics like Eyes Wide Shut by Stanley Kubrick, his last movie, exposing the Kabbalic, Masonic evil, what you guys call the Illuminati. We can't go there. But I want to go there. But to do that, you have to be spiritually aware. You have to have spirituality to see spiritism. To understand how people consolidate power and hold power. I want to say something else. We live in a spiritual world. A lot of things are not seen. And I love Zack Snyder's films for the spiritual aspect of them. Whether he's a spiritual person or not, I assume that he has some degree of understanding of spirituality, seeing that he came from Christian Scientist background. But Zack tries to make the invisible visible. And he has beautiful ways of doing that. And thank God for his dyslexia. Praise God that he thinks and sees the world the way he does, because he sees things you can't see. And because of that, he's able to identify spiritual things and put it in a manner that you would understand. And that's the element of Zack Snyder's movies I really love. The fact that he has a love for humanity also comes across in his movies. A lot of people say Zack likes gore and violence and stuff like that. He does. He does to some degree. I don't think he relishes in gore and violence. I think he sees it as a sort of beautiful art, a beautiful dance. But nonetheless, the point is, there's a point to every action that happens in his movies. Meaning, there's a point to the violence. There's a point to the resistance. There's a point he's making. He's encouraging you to become more active, to become an activist. He's encouraging you to fight back. He's encouraging you to take control of your destiny, your life. And yes, you always have a measure of control, even if it seems limited. You always have a choice to make. No matter if it's adverse, you think that the logical decision is adverse to you. And if you do make the insane choice of saying, no, I will not compromise this. No compromise. We always like to quote Rorschach, right? Even in the face of Armageddon, no compromise. Rorschach. There's an uncompromising interview. And besides the altruistic themes, I'm trying to say to you guys, these are spiritual themes. Zack is telling us what you are brought up on, what shapes and forms you, is more important than where you came from, who you're associated with, and the conditions under which you're existing. He's going to the heart of what humanity, I break it down for you guys, for those of you who don't know, hu means true, and man comes from the word manu, which means true mind, because it's a spiritual thing. Humanity is true-mindedness. It's a sort of altruism. So when you look at it in that perspective, this is where it gets interesting. Because these movies are not just there for your entertainment. And I've always said this over and over, and now I'm hearing Michael Shannon repeating the same thing. It's not just mere entertainment. I heard Zack Snyder say that. I heard Charles Roven say that. I heard Deborah Snyder say that. I've even heard people who admire Zack's work in Man of Steel say that. James Cameron's one of them that comes to mind. Because you're not just there to entertain people with empty entertainment or to blast propaganda at them. You're actually trying to inspect the human condition and say something about it that will help people to be able to see the current situations they may be in and get some clarity on it. You see? You're not preaching to people. You're just opening their minds to things that are in front of them. That's what The Matrix did in 1999. And so what I'm trying to say to people is that film is supposed to nourish you in some way. It doesn't have to preach to you with these fucking agendas they're trying to shove down people's throats, and people are like gagging on them and like, ah, no, I don't want that. You're not trying to preach to people, but you are trying to open their eyes to truths about the human condition. And from there, they can take it and do what they think is necessary. Zack allows you to choose as a viewer if you will accept what he's saying to you or not. And what Hollywood has been doing for the longest while is trying to discredit what he's doing. There's a war against Zack Snyder for that reason. It's not Zack Snyder's a bad person. He's not a bad person. Everybody loves to work with Zack Snyder, so that's not the reason. The reason is what he's actually putting in those movies. What he put in Rebel Moon and why they bashed the crap out of Rebel Moon. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, yeah, the Rebel Moon Part 1 and Part 2, that wasn't Zack Snyder, and you moved it. That's not the reason, man. It's the message of Rebel Moon. They tried to silence George Lucas's Star Wars. They started doing all kinds of stupid things in the Star Wars movie. They started changing up the lore and everything. You know why? Because George Lucas's Star Wars, and that's why they're trying to kill Star Wars, and why the fans keep on asking for a certain kind of Star Wars. The reason is because the messaging, man. It's the messaging. Y'all need to wake the fuck up. It's the messaging in George Lucas's Star Wars that everybody identifies with. Because everybody favors the rebels. They don't favor the Empire. I want you to understand. And now they're trying to obfuscate that. They're trying to confuse it with all this LGBTQ and all this bullshit. All this social justice warrior bullshit. That's why the fans are angry. It's not because what they're trying to do is necessarily a bad thing. It's that what they're trying to do is dilute down Star Wars to LGBTQ issues, to the false propaganda that the Kabbalic, Freemasonic, Illuminatic, demonic 1% want you to be. They want you to be more like them. They don't want you to be in the image and likeness of God. They want you to be more in the image and likeness of Satan. And Satan particularly makes mockery of everything that God does. In the Olympics, we had the worst Olympics ever. Everybody was like grossed out, pushing this LGBTQ in a mockery of the Lord's Supper. And Christians were mocked. But this is a Jewish agenda. Why you have Chatterbait, Cam Soda, Pornhub? It's a mockery of Christ. And they're straight up saying that. Muslims don't mock Christ. They look at Jesus as a Messiah. They look at Joshua, Isa. They look at Isa as a Messiah. They look at him as a first apostle. They give him his due respect. They don't see him as a son of God because they believe God doesn't beget anyone. But the point is, they see him as a noble prophet. But the Jews, not the Jews, the Judaistic Jews, they accept, they listen to the Christians. They think that Jesus was a rabbi, he was a good teacher. But for the I'm going to say it straight out. The Jews that are not Jews, who are from the synagogue of Satan, who do not follow the Torah. If they follow the Torah, they know Moses had prophesied about Jesus. The Jews who follow the Torah are different to the Jews who follow this Zionist version of Judaism. And those people are not Jews because of their actions. You're not a Jew through ritual and tradition and genealogy. Today you are a Jew through your actions. If you do not keep the 10 commandments, how can you be a Jew? You're only Jew in terms of maybe genealogy, maybe. Because some Jews were converts, so therefore not through genealogy per se. So my point being, a lot of them that say they are Jews but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan, these people are the ones pushing these LGBTQ agendas. These are the people pushing the pedophilic agenda to take down the age of consent. These are the evil people who have been trafficking human beings, because the slave trade never ended. It just went underground. And these are the same people. If Israel tomorrow is disbanded and dismantled, they'll go underground. And you'll find out that they're the same secret shadow government of the world. They're the same people. And they wanted to come out in the open and declare themselves to the world and rule the world with an iron hand. It's either our way or you're dead. And they can't wait for the second Messiah to come, which is the devil himself, the Antichrist. Okay, so I know I went really deep into some stuff, and some of you guys will be receptive to what I just said, and some of you will not be receptive to what I just said. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, Americans are waking up and they're taking to the streets. I told you what your plan of action is. It hasn't changed. The Israelis are taking it up. 100,000 Israelis, reservists, are not going into battle. They're not dealing with the Gaza issue. They have said, we're not going, and that's it. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Israel is breaking down. And the longer this goes on, is the more the Israelis are going to be against it. And you're going to hear more Israeli voices speaking out against it. And that's going to work against this Kabbalah of fucking evil people. And right now, what they're doing in Israel is the same thing they're doing in Palestine. If an Israeli is showing dissent to what is happening, they're being put in prison. They're being imprisoned. Free speech is not free speech in Israel as well. The same thing they're doing to Mahmoud Khalil, they're doing in Israel. The same thing that happens in Turkey, they're doing in Israel. The same thing that happened under Assad in Syria, they're doing in Israel. So what makes them any different to all these regimes that they say are so dictatorial? Netanyahu is a dictator. Goes without saying. There's no democracy in Israel. I remember this quote from Batman v Superman. Shout out to Chris Terrio, and also shout out to Zack Snyder. The human conscience, the American conscience died with Martin, Robert, and John. That's Martin Luther King Jr., Robert Kennedy, and John F. Kennedy. And it's true. Bernie Sanders showed his true form. And he's a Zionist through and through. All that rhetoric was bullshit. He's a lying son of a bitch. He's playing both sides. He's actually pro-Israel, and he's pro-Netanyahu destroying the Palestinians. And he showed it in his most recent rally where protests were there and police escorted people out. The same Gestapo bullshit that's happening with Trump is the same Gestapo bullshit happening with him. Showing that very few people in Congress, Thomas Massie, possibly, just recently, Owen Jones was exposed for being, he still talks about October 7th not being a false flag operation. He doesn't realize that it was a false flag operation. So a lot of people who've been playing as if they're comrades with us, they're actually infiltrators and they're full of shit. And the more we expose them is the more we know how to take action. Once we know the truth on the situation, we take action. In the Democratic Party, by and large, that party is in support of what Donald Trump is doing. I think very recently, Joe Biden came out and he was criticizing the economic foolishness that Trump is doing. That's isolating the United States of America even more. I have family trapped in the United States. This is how I put it now. They're trapped there. They don't realize it, but they're trapped there. Having a relationship with the United States is not the way to go. The world is changing, and the United States cannot take on the world and win. It will lose. So you're watching an empire rapidly descending into, it's falling very, very hard. The UK is falling with it. And the European Union, they're learning that they need to divorce from it, and Israel, even though they owe a lot of their might and power and stuff to these wicked, evil, Kabbalic Jews who also have been, they were the facilitators of them exploiting Africa and much of the global South. And this is why they've been integral partners with the UK. In fact, World War I, again, was they were behind America getting involved in World War I. So once again, when you're talking about these wicked people, Europe built its wealth and so on, even the slave trade that happened, they had a part and parcel in the slave trade. People always say it was the Arabs that sold the slaves into slavery, the African people. But no, it was actually the Jews. This Kabbalic sector of the Jews that set it up. Anyway, that's a whole other story for another day. I'll talk about that another time. I wanted to show you guys something else here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. It's somewhere. Hold on. I may have to go on Twitter. Aaron Fisher said something that's very true. Someone liking Gunn does not make them a true Superman fan. Someone liking All-Star Superman doesn't make them an authority on or a true fan of Superman. These are fake gatekeepers, and he's 100% correct. You have iconic. All-Star Superman was an iconic comic. Let's not even try and pretend like it wasn't. Another very great iconic comic is Dan Jurgens' Death of Superman, and then Reign of the Superman, in which you have the subset Return of Superman. That was a great run that really saves the character. So we have to make mention of that. Those are very iconic comics, All-Star Superman and Death and Return of Superman. So I'm not here to, berate these comics. And if you love All-Star Superman, that's great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, having said that, though, and Man of Steel borrowed lines from both of them, right? And iconic images from both of them. Now, having said that, though, you have to understand that there are so many Superman stories out there. There are like hundreds and hundreds of comics on Superman. So you have to be able to take in all that. And the thing about Superman that I like with Zack Snyder's Superman is that he gives you the why. He may move off of the general, well-known lore. Like, for example, Superman's outfit or his clothing is not, his mother didn't make it for him. Okay. Now, the first Superman comic that came out, which is Superman #1, which recaps Superman's story, everybody needs to know his mother didn't make the clothing for him either as Superman. So that was something that came later. After his parents died, he then became Superman. So there's a lot that, again, the early Superman comics, the Golden Age Superman, the story came in and his mother made it. But, if you didn't go into looking at, the beginnings of the Superman comic, you would not know that. right? Okay, anyways. So the point I'm making is that, Zack Snyder gave a why for why he wore what he wore, which had to do with his country, his world, where he came from, his people. And then also the significance of the colors, even though the movie doesn't tell you the significance of the colors, the comics do. You can see now why it's blue, it's golden, and it's red. Right, the red is the blood of the people, it's the humanity. The blue is also humanity. The seas and the peoples are seen as the seas, and of course the golden part is the hope of a new day, as well as relates to the Earth Sun, the yellow sun, right? So, when you, again, like I would like to say to a lot of people out there, you know, uh, I love that. The other thing, we never knew why Clark became a reporter. We always push him right in there, and he was a reporter. And I love how Man of Steel was able to show you why he became a reporter. Another thing I think is really interesting is not just why he became a reporter, but how he was able to conceal his identity while being amongst people. That is to say, this movie, Man of Steel, gave you a reason why he had to conceal his identity, and it had to do with his father dying and the consequence of if he was to save his father. So, he had to make such a sacrifice of allowing his father to die so that he wouldn't expose his actual identity, who he was. He walks around people as Clark Kent. And Clark Kent, for a lot of people don't realize, is his secret identity. Clark Kent is seen as a human, and therefore that's the mask for Superman. Nobody thinks that Clark Kent has powers, he can fly and stuff like that. Now, if he had, Kal-El is his real identity, but the thing about it is, his cover is actually Clark Kent. And a lot of people like to say, well, Clark Kent is the real Superman. No, that the real Superman is Kal-El. He's a Kryptonian. He's not a human, right? He has powers and abilities. Kal-El is who he really is. Clark Kent is his cover. Yes, he was raised a human. His parents called him Clark. He knew himself as Clark and Joe. But at the end of the day, Clark is his cover. His real name is Kal-El, and his father let him know that. And he had powers and abilities, and this is why he had powers and abilities, because he's a Kryptonian. He's not a human. Remember that. He's not a human. As much as we would like to think he's a human, he's not a human. And that's another very important point that Zach was able to push, in Superman 1978, right? The theme was, can you believe a man can fly, or something like that, right? And while Superman is a man, he's not a human, right? They will say this man is not our enemy, but he's not a human. He flies, right? Humans don't fly, okay? He has super strength. He can pick up trucks and stuff. Humans can't do that, okay? And I can go on and on and on, right? Heat vision comes out of his eyes. Humans don't do that, okay? So he's not a human being, yet he fights to defend and protect human values and humanity, which is interesting in so many different ways. I can tell you it's a very interesting thing in so many different ways. But suffice it to say that Zach opens the door for godlike beings being among us, and that he makes us question if everybody that we see walking among us is human. It's all these little subtle things he's introducing into our minds. And I don't know how many of you realize that. His Superman movie is not just a superficial thing. Zach is a super. No, Zach is giving you something that's, anyways. So yeah, All-Star Superman and all these other comic book Superman versions with the different Superman stories, they're all great. I am a Superman fan, so I enjoy reading those comics and seeing where they go. I'm going to show you something here. See if I can find it. It's somewhere around here. There's a lot to go into. I'm very proud of the people who have. I'm very proud of the people who have taken action. Like I said, you guys need to. I have so much to say on this thing, but I'm going to have to wrap it up. So I just want to get to. Hold on one second. I'm going to get there. Here it is. Do you realize how much PR money goes into making people believe Zack Snyder's Superman is hated? Yes. They pumped in a lot of money and they've lost a lot of money doing that. And here is just a simple poll for 41K votes from High Geek on Twitter. Says, who's the best Superman? And 69% of the voters, of almost 70% of the voters, and this is 41,000 votes, voted for Henry Cavill. Next was Christopher Reeve with 20%, David Cornsweet with 5%, and Tyler Hoechlin. No, sorry. Christopher Reeve with 20%, Tyler Hoechlin with 6%, and then David Cornsweet with 5%. Of course, we haven't seen the movie with David Cornsweet yet. We only saw a couple of trailers and the tone of the movie. But time will tell. You know? And again, well said by Unbiased Snyder fan. You know, Warner Brothers has been pumping money into these campaigns against Zack Snyder and for James Gunn at present. You know, they pump a lot of money into this stuff. Just giving a quick plug.
Depreciation, write-offs.
Listen, relax. It's like our new movie, The Accountant 2. Stay calm, use precision, you'll handle the numbers, or they'll handle you.
Wait, so can I ask you something? You just like sit there, Ben Affleck, you do your own taxes like a superhero?
No, what are you talking about? Of course I don't do my own taxes. I can't do any of this stuff. No, you want survival? Be organized.
Well, I guess I'm on my own.
If you're looking at me for help, you are. Good luck. And remember, it's the last day to submit your taxes.
If you want to see The Accountant 2 before it hits theaters on April 25th, check your local showtimes for advanced screenings tonight, celebrating Tax Day.
Or you could just celebrate the movie coming out and accept tax day as inevitable. I'm John Bernthal.
Ben,
I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
Caps for fun? It's just a silly game. Just a game, huh? It builds camaraderie. And what does wearing the clothes of the dead pregnant women that you shot build? Morale. Come to think of it, you even commemorate the murder of pregnant women with shirts that have the phrase, 1 shot, 2 kills. But we're Jewish. You burned journalists alive. We're looking into it. You executed medical workers and buried them in a shallow grave. But the Bible. Some were still alive. Shh, do you hear that? Sirens in Tel Aviv. This is our reality. You blew up another kindergarten. It was a training ground for terror toddlers. You take the bodies of dead children that you murdered and harvest their organs to sell on the black market. We need the skin. A UN report just released proves that the IDF and Israeli settlers use systematic sexual violence against the Palestinians. Goys will be goys. Your own parliament says raping Palestinians is justifiable. Oh my God, you hate the Jews! You've bombed 7 other countries in the past year. We're the victims. Lebanon. Amalek. Syria. Amalek. Jordan. Amalek. Yemen. You don't understand. 3,000 years ago. Palestine. Israel tried. Iran. When you're chosen, they let you do it.
It's funny, but it's
500 people collectively clap our hands and make happen for you.
Oh man, I don't know. I'm pretty, you know what, like out of everyone in the world, I'm so happy. Like we should be putting our energy towards something that actually matters.
What could be more than that right
now? Yeah, maybe the lives of, I don't know, Palestinians in Gaza right now. maybe that's where we put our hearts and our energy. And anyone suffering, anyone oppressed, anyone that is suffering under the weight of the horrors of our world right now, anyone who doesn't have a choice in living lives of dignity, that's where our energy should be going right now.
Is there a director you've come close to working with that you're dying for another crack at?
Yeah.
عبارة عن نصفين يعني جسده طلعناه وكان رجله كانت في الجبل ضايل بعد ما فاحرين الجورة باقيين اللي يعدموه أو اللي كان مستشهد باقيين حاطينه في الجورة كانوا فوق بعض زي جبل حاطينه فوق بعض ودفنينهم يعني في منهم بلا في الشروص في منهم مش مبين ملامح يعني فكان شيء مرعب جدا والله كان شيء مرعب جدا جدا كان شيء مرعب جدا جدا
Hey everyone,
أنت الأمان أنت الحياة.
There's many more. To just connect our humanity for a second. The average American pays $36 in taxes each year to fund food stamps. Food stamps, right? The same American pays $670 in taxes each year for corporate subsidies. Why? How is this even right? How could it be that corporations get subsidies on so much stuff and you pay more for that than for fucking food stamps, y'all? Who cares about what? They don't care about you. And they never did. And that's why you need to stop feeding them. Stop funding them. Stop giving them money and giving them labor. You need to strike now, united. It doesn't matter your race, your class, or your color. You fight for them. You die for them. Why? Why do you die for these corrupt politicians who are bought out by Israel? That's what you're doing. You're fighting for corporations like Coca-Cola and Pepsi so they can fund more war machines. And murder more people around the world. Ryan Rosbiani says he got on his knees, laughed at killed kids, and still got wrecked. What a loser. Michael Rappaport says he can't find acting jobs due to support for Israel. You should not only not have acting jobs for support for Israel, but you're the one who should be deported for your language. All right, this is the one last thing I'm going to leave. I know I haven't covered the heart and soul of everything that you guys want to hear, but I don't have enough time. I have to go to work. So, Gaddafi offered to resign. The U.S. they wanted him dead. Why? To control his oil and Libya's sovereign wealth. Former Congressman Kurt Weldon tells Tucker Carlson it was all about the oil.
Because Gaddafi, and I met him just like Libya. We were the ones that
it was also
Gaddafi.
About Israel's agenda to get hegemony in the Middle East. Let's get it going.
Just like Libya, we were the ones that caused Gaddafi's death because Hillary Clinton played a game over there, and I was the one that went over there during the war. Gaddafi asked me to go over. I took a Biden staffer and a Bush staffer and a film crew leader from ABC One in New York, Larry Menti, with me, and a cameraman, because I didn't want the CIA to set me up. I hand carried the letter back from Gaddafi offering to resign. The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to kill him. Why? Because Gaddafi, and I met him 3 times. I took Biden on my second trip to Libya, by the way. He went with me when I spoke to the whole country. At every meeting I had with Gaddafi, he wanted 2 things. He wanted to unite the African continent into a group of nations economically, like European standard gold, like the European economy. He wanted to base it on the gold standard. And the U.S. and Europe didn't want that. And the other thing is they wanted control of his oil, and they wanted control of his sovereign wealth. So Gaddafi had to go. That's outrageous, and it's wrong. It's like we were the one.
Shout out to Kurt Weldon for spilling the beans on everything and making it official. Now, I want you guys to understand what happened in Libya was evil. And yes, Hillary Clinton is an evil bitch. But they also assassinated, no, let's not forget this, the U.S. ambassador in Libya. Let's not forget that part. They assassinated him because he was going to blow the whole thing open about the opposite that was going on in Libya. And they're trying to do the same thing with Iran. They want Iran down. They want to get a regime change in Iran. And they're trying to sabotage Iran from the inside right now. And I hope that backfires royally on them. Iran is key because China and Russia, they work with Iran. And there are trade routes that they're trying to organize with Iran. It's all about world hegemony. And they're trying to do it in a negative way. They're trying to bully people and kill people and assassinate people to get that hegemony. The problem with it is Iran's always ready for that. Regime change, there's not going to be any regime change that Iran is not catering for and hasn't planned for. They're in this thing for the long haul, just like the Chinese and the Russians. And like I said before, I would love to go to Africa, China, and Russia. I'm beginning to realize more and more that they're the lesser of the evils in this world. And America is the evil empire that everyone said it is. And it's proving it because it's being evil to its own people right now. Horrible trade war against the American people. And I tell you, you have to stand up, shut the fucking country down, and depend on each other. You got to shut it all down. When the companies can't make any money off of you, when they can't pit you against each other, and you start, the hillbillies, the white folk, the black folk, y'all go hand in hand and shut the fucking country down. And then you create the agenda, you create the news, you create the issues that you see near and dear to you. It's the only way. Israel's doing it. You need to do it too. I am Christ, I am disciple. I'm so sorry that I can't go into more detail on Palestine. I love you guys. No matter what religion you are, or whatever faith you are, if your desire is that other human beings thrive and do well, if your desire is that people are treated fairly and justly, if your desire is that the world is treated better in terms of the environment, etc., and I'm with you all the way. God bless you all.